Hi friends, so happy to have you back. Sandy Salgado here. I hope that you all find yourselves well and in good health as always. Today I want to talk about the art of letting go. Letting go of the idea that we can control it all. Letting go of the idea that we have power and control of how every outcome and every scenario and every situation will turn out. There is beauty and freedom in the art of letting go, believe it or not. Now, if you're a control freak, if you find yourself constantly struggling inside your head with trying to control every person or every situation or the environment or the circumstances in which you find yourself in, let me just remind you, actually let me let you in on a little secret. You're not alone. We are all in our own way a little bit of control freaks, believe it or not. Whether we try to control the scenarios, the atmosphere, the environments because of past trauma that we've had, or it's a little bit of our ego that pushes us to try to have control over every situation, including people. We try to control people. Or perhaps our OCD tendencies that drive us to try to have control over the outcome of every situation, scenario, and circumstance. But regardless of what your drive is to be a control freak, I am here to tell you that you cannot, and let me repeat that, you cannot control the outcome of every situation. I'm going to be sharing with you just a couple of things that could help you in the process of letting go. Because yes, it's not something that can happen overnight where you just wake up and say, I'm letting go today and it's going to be fabulous and it's going to be easy and I'm going to love and enjoy the process. No, it is actually a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Letting go, especially if it has to do, if your controlling tendencies have to do with past trauma. Not that I'm a medical professional, but because I have endured and experienced past trauma myself in my life, I know how difficult it could be to let go. So no, I'm not giving medical advice. I am just speaking from a place where I've been and how I have learned to cope and come out of that place. So just a conversation from a fellow control freak to another. I'm going to give you a couple of tips that might be able to help you, again, in the process of letting go. All right? Number one is learning how to accept people exactly where they are. When we try to control the way that they think, when we try to control their decision making, we are not leaving a room for the atmosphere to be prepared to allow change to happen. If someone feels attacked, if someone feels pressured, if someone feels oppressed, there is no way on earth that that person is going to bring down their guard to allow room for change to happen. We have to meet people exactly where they are. Not only do we have to meet them there, but we have to have compassion and love for these individuals. Number two is understanding that this control, this sense of control, this urgency that we have to control situations, scenarios, or outcomes or circumstances is fear. A lot of times we fear that if we don't take control of the situation, if we don't handle the task in hand, things will fall apart. Things will not turn out the way that we intended them to. And that fear drives us to try to control even the thoughts of other individuals, or at least to try to influence the thoughts of other individuals. And let me tell you, living like that, with that pressure, with that burden on your back of trying to control everything is exhausting. I don't know about you, but in my personal experience, it has been extremely and utterly exhausting. Like I shared earlier, because of past trauma in my life throughout my journey, I have had the obsession of trying to control everything. And that idea of control is debilitating, because when something doesn't, first off the upkeep, trying to keep up with every person, with every outcome, with every scenario, with every situation, it is debilitating. It is absolutely and utterly exhausting. No way on earth that you can control every person, every thought, every outcome, every situation. There is absolutely no way that we can do that. And it is so beautiful and so freeing to be able to let go of that idea. Newsflash for both you and I: you are not God, and neither am I. That has been, I want to say that truth of knowing that I am not God and that I cannot control every situation, I think has been one of the most freeing and beautiful truths that I have encountered. No, I am not comparing myself to God, but a lot of times we try to be God. We try to control people. We try to control outcomes. We try to control situations. For goodness gracious, there are people in science that are trying to control the weather now. I mean, it's an obsessive and dangerous illness to have that mentality of obsessive control. It is freeing to know that no, I am not God. I cannot control everything, but it is also a bit of a challenge to accept that truth that I cannot control everything. There's pros and cons to it, if that makes any sense. 3, understand that everything takes time. Change takes time. Acceptance takes time. Growth takes time. Take, for example, the butterfly effect. First, it starts off as a caterpillar. It then puts itself in a cocoon, and it has to develop and grow its wings. And I mean, the science behind how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly is absolutely mesmerizing and beautiful. I don't know if you guys know much about it, but I would encourage you to take a look at how it all happens. And finally, the last stage of becoming a butterfly is breaking itself out of that cocoon, expanding its wings, and taking flight. But could you imagine if the caterpillar tried to go from being a caterpillar to flying without the process, without the stages, without each stage of becoming a butterfly? Everything in this world takes time. Even letting go of this idea of control that we have takes time. I think that this entire past year has brought about so much patience and so much grace to be able to learn how to have compassion over individuals and not be judgmental, and simply accept and love everybody exactly where they are, to be appreciative of every situation, whether we can control them or not. And that's another very good point to this message. There's a big difference between just throwing your hands up in the air and saying, I am done, I am letting go, I am not moving a muscle for the rest of my life because I just can't control anything, and actually being proactive about the things that you can control. So it's not just about giving up and just letting go completely. No, there are things that we can control, and we have to find balance between the things that we can and the things that we cannot, and always make sure that we check in with ourselves to know whether our intentions are coming from a good place, or if it's becoming obsessive simply because we want to have control. It's not a healthy way of living. If I can encourage you to do anything, is to loosen up a little, to live a little bit more freely, to not be so hard on yourself, because this is tormenting, this is debilitating to live this way. And believe me, I am preaching to the choir, because I myself have struggled with that my entire life. Thank God, like I said, this past year has taught me a lot about learning how to let go. It is a blessing and a curse to know that I cannot control everything. A blessing because I can finally just say, Lord, you are in control, I am not. And just like the good scripture says in Romans 8:28, all things will work for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. So I do not trouble myself. I do not work myself into a nervous breakdown, because I know that God is in control, that I don't have to sweat the small things, that I don't have to worry about the burdens of the world. I have to do my part, absolutely, but I don't have to carry the burden of the world. If I can encourage you to do anything today, if this message somehow ended up on your page or you somehow stumbled on it, I want to encourage you to let go of the idea of control. If you've ever seen Mother Nature at work, you'd realize how little control as individuals, as human beings, we have. When you see a tornado destroy a city in the matter of seconds, when you see a tsunami take over and completely destroy a town or a city, or a hurricane that just completely brings destruction with it, we realize how little control we truly have as individuals. So why don't you do yourself a favor? Pick up that burden that you have on your back and simply let it go. The one thing that you do have control over, the one and only thing that you do have control over, is this right here. Whatever goes in, whatever comes out, whatever influence you allow in here, that, my friend, is the only thing that you have control over. That and obviously free will. But stop wasting time with the idea, with the irrational idea that you can control every outcome, every scenario, and every situation. Especially let go of the idea that you can control people. Friends, that is all that I have for you today. I do hope to see you again soon. Until next time, God bless each and every one of you. Ciao.